A long-necked blue-grey bird, with a 12-inch beak and a 10-foot wingspan, swooped in low over the marsh of Munsk, the beak dipping shallow into murky water, and coming out with a squiggly, many-legged thing somewhere between a frog and a gigantic insect. Merrik Niles squinted at the wriggling thing in the bird's talons, failed to discern what he was looking at, and reminded himself for the 100th time that the waters of Munsk Marsh were no place for playful wading. The bright summer sun drove him into the shade of the tree, and Merrik found himself once again standing over Podrick's grave. He'd grown numb to it in the past months, the grief banished, or perhaps simply masked, with a constant supply of wine and starshine. Merrick's body ached and his head pounded, but that was simply his new state of normalcy. He'd drink himself to sleep again tonight, then start the cycle again in the morning, stumbling through the day, taking a meal if he remembered to eat, staring into the murky waters of the marsh as if there were important secrets there. There weren't. Merrik sighed. He felt slick and greasy all over. Munsk had proven to be even hotter and more humid in the summer than he'd been told. His light cottony shirt stuck to him. His tan breeches stopped just below the knees. Sandals on his feet. In spite of his light apparel, the heat of the day still crushed him. He lowered himself to the ground next to the grave, his back leaning against the tree trunk, and held the wineskin in his lap, not quite ready to start yet, but soon. Merrik tried to remember when he'd last bathed and couldn't. Someone approached from the manor house. He squinted and saw it was Jin. She wore a light linen dress, hemmed just at the knees, as was the current warm-weather fashion in the south, laced together at the front. Face fresh and washed, blonde hair woven into a neat braid down her back. Her sandal straps crisscrossed her calves up to the knee. Merrik glanced around. Nina stood shouting distance away, leaning on her spear, ostensibly keeping watch on him. He'd once told her to go home. They didn't need guarding any more, or more accurately, Merrik didn't think himself worth guarding. "You're in no state to make such a decision," she'd said. He hadn't bothered trying to convince her after that. Jin stopped a few feet from him under the shade of the tree. She had a wad of parchments in her hands. "I thought you might want to hear the latest reports." "I do not." "Lee's forces still have High Harbour under siege," she reported. "I don't care." "I sent the latest starshine numbers to Lee's bursar," Jin said. "Shove the numbers." She ignored him, detailing the various costs involved with keeping the starshine operation up and running, numbers she'd been keeping separately from the manor house budget. Barrels went out, usually via the canal barge to the dock at the seashore, where it was loaded aboard a cargo ship. Silver flowed in from various outlets up and down the coast. Merrick's percentage was deducted, and the greater share was sent by heavily guarded ship to Lee's bursar. From Merrick's share, Jin had paid the servants, kept the larder stocked, and attended to general household maintenance.